بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We're beginning the readings of the letters of Sayyidina Shaykh Ahmad Tijani. These letters are very important, for in essence we are reminded about Allah, reminded about His messenger, reminded about His bounties and His mercies, and reminded in regarding to His commands. One of the Tijani Khulafa, Shaykh Muhammad al-Hafiz al-Misri, the known muhaddith of Egypt, he once said the essence of the tariqa is based on three things: zikr, mudhakir, and akhlaq. Remembrance of Allah, number one. Two, reflection. And three, good etiquettes, good behavior. And what we will be doing tonight, and our intention with these readings, is not only to remember Allah, but also to reflect about Allah's bounties, His creations, His mercies. And that is one thing that is paramount in Islam. There's one particular narration in which one hour of reflection is better than 1 year of worship, is equal to a year of worship. There's another that says 1 hour of reflection is better than 7 years of worship. Another one says 1 hour of reflection is better than 70 years. And there's also a tradition that says 1 hour of reflection is better than 1,000 years. And the explanation of all of these various categories of what 1 hour of remembrance is worth depends on what you are remembering or reflecting about. We learn from the seerah of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was on a mountain, he was actually reflecting about Allah through His creation, reflecting about His bounties, reflecting about His greatness. And this reflection is actually what brought about the revelation of the Quran. So everything that we have in Islam, everything we have in the Quran came about due to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam going on the mountain of Hira and reflecting about Allah. And these letters that we'll be reading are part of that reflection, taking the time out of our day, taking the time even out of our worship to reflect on the bounties of Allah and to reflect on His commands and the things that we may take lightly that we should put more importance on. The first letter that we will be reading, and we'll be reading the letters of Shaykh Ahmad Tijani. Those who are not familiar or also familiar and want to hear his biography, they are 4 links that are already posted in this group. It goes through his young age and up to the point where the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam became his immediate teacher directly. And after that, we are beginning the letters. The first letter we'll be reading is called the Clear Letter. The Clear Letter. And we find that many of the letters of Shaykh Ahmad Tijani, some of them are sent to all of his companions. Some of them are sent to particular people. But throughout all of these letters, even if it's sent to a certain individual, the lesson that is learned in that letter is for everyone, because he speaks about various subjects that everyone as a Muslim is eager to know more about. But this first letter is very famous. It's called the Clear Letter. And one of the reasons why this letter is usually the first letter that is read or taught among his other letters is because this one, for one, is sent to all of his companions. He began the letter by saying this letter is to all of his companions. And the subjects that are in this letter are very comprehensive on the whole deen of Islam. And I'll begin by reading the letter, and if I unquote or take a time to explain, I will say so. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. This letter was sent to all of his companions. After invoking the name of Allah and prayers and peace upon our master, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you should know, may Allah have mercy on you all, that people have only been created in this world to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to fulfill his commands and to avoid what he has prohibited. Indeed, fulfilling the command of Allah and his rights are among the most emphasized of obligations and the greatest means of turning towards Allah. This has been established by the decree of the divine degree and the prophetic legislations. Just a side note, many of us think to become closer to Allah, we have to do so many of the extra nafila things, that we have to make prayer all night, that we have to sit and make zikr all day and all night and make so many great numbers of various types of remembrances and many dua. But the first point that's emphasized here is that one of the most emphasized ways, the best ways of turning towards Allah, is keeping hold of the things that he has obligated and doing them perfectly, i.e. the basics. And you will find that whenever he is explaining these things, he always emphasizes perfecting what Allah has obligated for us. Back to the letter. He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has said in the Quran, I have only created jinn and human beings that they should worship me. He also said, did I not, O children of Adam, enjoin upon you that you do not worship Shaitan? Indeed, he is to you an open enemy, and that you should worship me. That is a straight path. That is Surah Yasin, ayat 60 through 61. He goes further to quote other ayahs of the Quran to support this. And he, Allah, said, indeed, this community of yours is one community, and I am your Lord, so worship me. Surah Anbiya, ayat 92. Further, he, Allah, has said, obey Allah and obey the messenger, that you may receive mercy. Surah Ali Imran, ayat 132. And Allah has said regarding his messenger, if you obey him, you will be guided. Surah An-Nur, ayat 54. Finally, Allah has said, those are the limits of Allah. If anyone obeys Allah and his messenger, we will enter him into gardens under which rivers flow. They will be therein forever. That is the greatest success. However, whoever disobeys Allah and his messenger and transgresses his limits, we will enter him into a fire. He will remain therein forever, and he will have a formidable torment. Surah An-Nisa, ayat 13 through 14. And there are many other verses that have been transmitted, the encouragement towards this matter. The most emphasized of the commands of Allah, Shaykh Ahmad Tijani is saying, the most emphasized of the commands of Allah, in which one is to preserve, is the matter of the 5 prayers, along with all their different rulings, requirements, and conditions, which have been codified in the books of the Imams. What is obligatory regarding it is to comply with its known preconditions, its agreed upon obligatory actions, and performing the positions of bowing, ruku, and prostration, sujud, in the most perfect manner, according to the way what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has described in the authentic hadith, saying, quote, a Muslim should bow until he comes to a complete rest in the bowing position. Then he should rise until he is standing up straight. Then he should prostrate until he comes to a complete rest in the position of prostration. Then he should rise until he sits up straight. Then he should prostrate until he comes to a complete rest in the position of prostration. Thereafter he, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, do that in all of your prayers. End of the hadith. Shaykh Ahmad Tijani continues in the letter, and be completely on guard against falling into ruin into which people have fallen, of not being concerned with the affair of their prayer. He's saying this is something that the people that have fallen to ruin, one of their signs is that they're not praying, but they have not perfected their prayer. Performing it like a rooster pecking at seeds. Performing the prayer he says performing the prayer like that makes it invalid by evidence of the Prophet's words to the man who he saw praying like that, where he told him to go back and pray again, for you have not prayed. The man prayed in the same manner 3 times, rushing his bowing and his prostration. The 4th time, he, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, taught him the aforementioned method in which we read about bowing to coming to a complete rest, rising up and standing in straight in a complete rest. And he, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, pray as you have seen me pray. Indeed, he, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, would perfect his bowing and prostration with tamanina. Tamanina, the definition, according to the sacred law, is not fidgeting and remaining still, by not moving around, fidgeting, rocking, but remaining still. The meaning of that is that when the person who is bowing or prostrating reaches the position of bowing or prostration, he remains at rest in them both for the length of time that it takes to recite to glorify Allah. The minimum is that he should recite 3 times. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Subhanallah al-azim. These glorifications, the minimum is 3 with a measured pace, meaning we don't just say subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah wa bihamdihi. We say it in a settled way, a resting way, a perfect way. He should not recite less than that, Shaykh Ahmad Tijani said, for that is the minimum limit of tamanina. Rest in salat is saying it 3 times. If someone performs a bowing or prostration that is shorter than this, his prayer is invalid, according to Shaykh Ahmad Tijani. That is the prayer about which a tradition, a hadith, states that when someone prays like that, that salat is rolled up. The angels come and roll it back up like a cloth that's rolled up and throws it back at the person and hits him in the face with that salat. The angels throw it back at him. Rather, the sacred law demands that a person come to his prayer the way he comes to sleeping when sleep overtakes him. The person who comes to sleep when sleep overtakes him, he casts off from himself all other occupations. When someone is ready to go to bed and he's tired, he wants to go to sleep, he doesn't want anything else. He doesn't give anything else his attention, and he goes straight to that matter. Shaykh Ahmad Tijani is saying that's how you should treat your salat. That's how we should treat each position of salat. To continue reading, Shaykh says, then he sleeps, falling into his slumber and in complete surrender, without being in a hurry to free himself of sleep, nor doing it halfway. So when someone is sleeping, when it's time to wake up, no one really likes just popping up out of his bed and getting up out of the bed running. He takes his time in each position until he gets comfortable. And he doesn't go to sleep until he's comfortable in his position. The same way, we should not start reciting our glorifications in each position until we are comfortable in each position, rested perfectly. Shaykh Ahmad Tijani is given an example, and you will see that in many of his letters, to show an example, a practical example of how everyone loves to sleep. And we treat our sleep very carefully. And while we're sleeping, we do not think or worry about anything else while we're sleeping. We give our 100% to that activity at that moment. And this is how we should be in our salah. Shaykh Ahmad Tijani says, this is the state that a person should have with his prayer. He should come to it burdening himself with performing it. He should come to the salat with a great burden, as if he's about to do something that's the greatest thing that he could do, because we're about to stand in front of Allah. And he should cast his entire being into the salat, leaving off all other things, all other occupations, the word is. Then he should perform the salat, fulfilling the aforementioned conditions. On the contrary, if someone's prayer is in a hurry and not coming to a rest and is bowing and prostration in the way we have described, this salat will not be accepted. This is then indicated by the words of the Prophet ﷺ. The first of the slave's acts to be examined will be his prayer. If the prayer is accepted of him, all the rest of his acts will be examined. If the prayer is not accepted of him, none of his other actions will be examined. So let's reflect on that. Think about all of the good that we try to do for our fasting that we're doing this month. The Hajj, the Umrahs, the kindness to the parents, the charities, the Sadaqah, the reading the Quran. All of that will not mean anything unless our salat is intact. May Allah make our salat perfected. May Allah make our salat a mirror and copy the way of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the way that pleases Allah, and may Allah accept all of our salah. Ameen. On a side note, Shaykh Ahmad Tijani, as you see in this letter, he's emphasizing to all of his companions, all of his students, is to perfect their salat. And in the history books, the biography books of the companions of Shaykh Ahmad Tijani, many of them became his student based off of seeing and witnessing how he made his salah. One of them, by the name of Shaykh Ibrahim Riyahi from Tunisia. Shaykh Ibrahim Riyahi of Tunisia. Tunisia was the mufti, the grand mufti of the Zaytuna College Mosque in Tunisia, and also he was the grand mufti of Tunis at that time. And he was a known scholar. And when he visited Shaykh Ahmad Tijani, when he visited him before he took his tariqa, he visited Fez. He heard about the notoriety of the Shaykh, his knowledge, and he went to go visit to see for himself. And he writes in his diary about his trip is that he witnessed the prayer of the Salaf. If anyone wanted to witness the Salaf, the way that the predecessors, the first 3 centuries of Muslims, the Sahaba, the Taba'in, and the Taba'in used to pray, look at the way Shaykh Ahmad Tijani prayed. And he said also, he wrote it down, that I have never witnessed someone whose sujood and their ruku lasted that long. One big characteristic about Shaykh Ahmad Tijani's prayer was that his ruku and his sajda lasted very long. And Sheikh Ibrahim Riyahi said, I never made salat or seen a salat with someone whose ruku and sajda lasted like that. And that's one of the things that made a lot of people become a student of Shaykh Ahmad Tijani, radiallahu anhu. This is the clear letter. This is the beginning of it. We will continue more of this letter, inshallah. May Allah accept from us. Assalamu alaikum. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.